Everyone gets their own today. It's special.
Yeah.
We're
Okay.
trying to save money, optimization.
Yeah. So good morning. I'll officially call to order the regular meeting of the Coachella Valley Water District Board of Directors, January 24, 2023 here in Coachella. Let me do the opening remarks and then we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. I'd like to make clear for the record that this meeting is being conducted as permitted under AB 361 and Board Resolution 2022-10. Today's meeting is presented in a hybrid format, in person at CVW's Coachella office and via Zoom. AB 361 suspends certain requirements of the Brown Act, allowing district board members to participate in person or by video conference. Members of the public may participate in person or via Zoom. Zoom details are listed on the meeting agenda, and the meeting is streamed live on the district's website and YouTube channel. If there's any members of the public wishing to comment on any item on the agenda or within the jurisdiction of the district, they'll have 3 minutes to do so. You may provide public comment in person, via Zoom, or by emailing the clerk of the board. Such comments will become part of the board meeting record, and if you use the raise hand feature, that will help on Zoom. And then as far as consideration of action items, I'll make sure that we call on our Director Nelson, who will be participating remotely, and we'll do all the votes by roll call. And we'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And roll call, please.
Good morning, President Powell,
Here.
Vice President Estrada,
Here.
Director Bianco,
Here.
Director Aguilar,
Here,
and we will note when Director Nelson joins us. At this time, he has not yet joined, but I will make a note for the record.
Thank you. So we do have a quorum, and we might have all 5 in a few minutes. Do we have any additions, deletions, or adjustments for today's agenda?
no, sir.
No, I'm not aware of any either. Is there anyone from the public wishing to comment at this time?
Nobody in the room.
Nobody online either.
Okay. 5A, employee recognitions. We have 2 retirements. Teresa Salazar with 22 years and Ronnie Ramos with 14 years. And they are not attending, but I believe there's a write-up in the...
Yes.
No.
There's nothing written up either, huh?
No.
All right. I didn't click on it because they weren't going to be here. Okay. But anyways, congratulations to them for their retirements. Consent calendar items 6A through G. They are all perfunctory
Standard
items.
stuff,
Make a motion to approve consent
Second.
calendar.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
President Powell,
Aye.
Vice President Estrada,
Aye.
Director Bianco,
Aye.
and Director Aguilar.
Aye.
Thank you. And
That passed 4-0 with 1 absent.
Correct.
Good. On to the action. Uh, 8A, I actually had a little edit on 8A.
Okay.
I know it's super short, but it looks like they took the prior resolution and just tried to modify it. But we changed the designees from actual people, like the general manager, to departments without specifying a person.
And we did that to allow for,
Changing people.
correct.
Yeah, no, I get that, but I don't think there's any reason to specify that an alternate may be designated because there is no designee in the first place. I mean, if you don't have a designee, who's the designee and who's the alternate? How do you know who it is?
Well, the assumption usually is that it's the department head, and if the department is not able to attend, then they send a designee. So
All
we
right.
probably didn't specify that in the resolution.
No,
but
I mean, it
would
just
be-
says it'll be open in the presence of a representative from any 3 of the following.
So I think the assumption was there would be a particular department head doing it every time, unless that person couldn't do it, at which point they could designate an alternate. Just so that
Should-
it wasn't the implication that it was going to be one person all the time.
I get it. So should we say that? because it doesn't say that. I mean, to me, it's kind of confusing. And then the other part that's confusing is down below the bullets. It says one representative must be from procurement. But earlier it says it could be from any three of the following departments. So you could not have anybody from finance.
Well, the reason we added the additional language of procurement is procurement falls under finance, but we could have an individual from, let's say, the admin or the AP portion of finance. Let's say if it'd be the director of finance, he's not able to attend, so he designates someone. But we must have somebody from procurement because procurement oversees the bid processing.
All right, so maybe we should say that we need somebody from procurement instead of saying from any three of the following departments, right? Because when you say from any three of the four departments, it's like, it's not, right? Because then it actually has to be somebody from here, and it actually has to be somebody from procurement. I don't know, I just feel like we should just say what we want to say instead of...
I wish we would have seen a red line. It's really hard to.
It's super short. I mean, it was basically... I think what happens is they tried to change it and make it easier and left some of the old language in there.
We did, so we had assistance from BBK staff, and what we did is essentially the changes were just eliminating the actual designation of a position and
No, I understand.
generalized it
But-
to the department.
But it looks like and then there's a little 2 in parentheses after finance. Does that mean you have to have 2 people from finance? What does that mean? I mean, to me, it looks like, I think you need to rewrite this. I know it's super short, right?
Okay.
Okay,
But-
so
We can do it.
But are you saying that it could be any 3 of the departments, but one of them has to be finance?
One of them has to be procurement.
And
One of them
Finance
has to
is
be
fine.
procurement.
One of them has to be procurement, which is finance. But finance has a 2 after it, and the other departments have 1s after them.
Does that mean 2
So-
alternates?
Yeah,
does that
so
mean?
it would mean we have somebody from the administration clerk of the board section, so either myself or the deputy clerk or someone else who's designated. Somebody from the communication service conservation, it would be Scott Burrett or his designee. Somebody from engineering, Carrie, and Carrie usually delegates that to an engineer manager who may be overseeing that project. And then somebody from finance, so we would have somebody from general finance administration division, and then somebody from procurement as well.
All right. Can we rewrite it just to
Sure.
say that?
So
I
you
mean, it
would-
sounds like you need 5 people, or at least 4, based on how it's written. I don't know. I can't
so,
tell.
so it's any 3 of the following, but we want to make sure that one is from
So it's
Procurement.
not any 3 of the following. It's somebody from procurement and any 2 of the following 3 departments, right? So you could do it without somebody from engineering. I would say, yeah, you need somebody from procurement, which is finance, and then any 2 of the other 3 departments, and the designee is the department head, and the alternate is somebody that they designate.
Okay.
Okay.
So you're kind of going back to what it used to say. Well, I mean, if that's what you mean, you might as well say it. That's all I'm saying.
All right.
Because I'm confused. And I don't want to get into a situation where we have somebody making a bid and puts in a protest because
They didn't understand the process.
it didn't make sense, yeah.
Or they think they got us on a technicality.
Okay.
Appreciate
So I'll
that.
work with
You can
Mary
bring that
Beth.
back?
Yep.
Can you bring
I'll
it
work
back?
with
Yeah,
Mary
it's
Beth.
not urgent, right?
No.
And I didn't read the rest of it, and because I got stuck on that one.
That's okay. We'll revise.
Yeah, thank you. Can bring that back. 8B, this is our, the Rancho Mirage automobile dealership. Hi, Elmer.
John, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
So I'm just getting a note from a member of the public that the boardroom is muted and the video feed is off.
Yeah. Appreciate that.
Sure.
Let's hold on a second then, because if we don't have any audio going out or any video, anything going out in your files.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's fine. That's an appropriate
That is a
interruption.
good interruption.
YouTube is showing, I can't hear it, but, because it would cause feedback, but I see our YouTube channel is working. Let me check on the.
We're only as good as our feed.
It's good to know that
Are
we
they
have
on
people watching.
Zoom? Do you know if they're
here's a video.
Yeah, so it's on YouTube. It might be the Zoom.
I don't know.
The Zoom is the one that allows public participation, so it's important.
Good morning.
Uh-oh. Oh, the Wi-Fi.
For some reason, it kicked me out of it. It used to log in automatically.
Oh, I can't believe they're gonna build there.
See, no. My Timothy username is,
Oh, I mean,
Want to pass this down?
If you want. I was just reading the rest
wanna
of
keep
it. No, yeah, I was gonna read the rest of it and see if there's another problem, but I doubt it.
Boy, you'd think this would have been a better place for homes
Hey, good morning.
with that
Yeah,
view.
that's fine.
it's like this development here that he's doing.
Is that one of yours, Jeff?
I was involved.
You were?
So hand up.
You know, this bed
Yeah.
right here,
I made,
that's been there since before I
Yeah,
was
thank
born.
Yeah, no.
It's obvious what I was trying to say, I think.
60s. Yeah. That place, used to drive
I'm going to do
this.
a mic
That'd
check.
be the
Director
only thing
Nelson, can you hear us?
that'd be the
I
one
can
thing
hear you
that
fine. Can you
Thunderbird-
hear me?
Yes, we can hear you fine. Okay, so that's Zoom. That
Perfect.
appears we are working. We checked YouTube as well, and that is streaming as well.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Jeff.
And Director Nelson has joined us.
Great, welcome, Peter.
Thank you, John.
We're almost done.
Fantastic.
you want to just take it?
All right.
Okay, on we go. So
morning.
we're on action calendar item 8B, the auto dealership in Rancho Mirage. Go ahead, Elmer.
Wow, you
Good
are
morning,
getting along,
Director
eh?
Powell. Board of Directors, this item is to authorize the general manager to execute a special domestic water agreement with Innovative Automotive Holdings LLC, which will be developing a Volvo and dealership along Highway 111 in the city of Rancho Mirage. Do you have any other questions or would like a presentation on this agreement?
Board of Directors,
Is somebody wishing to speak? I think I heard somebody.
Director Nelson.
dealership,
it's Elmer on the line.
Oh, it's on a loop.
Rancho
You're
Mirage.
on a loop.
You have any other questions or presentation on this agreement?
We want to know we're capturing you.
Parallel universe.
So somebody on Zoom, it might, Director Nelson, do you by chance have your audio, you logged in twice by chance? Somebody's on Zoom.
No, I see that the documents were signed by the applicant, so I'm all right with that. I was working on this a little bit with the team.
I don't have any questions. I'll move approval.
Second.
Good. There's a motion and a second. Director Nelson, are you ready to go to the vote, or do you have any comments?
Yeah, no comments, John. I'm ready to vote.
All right, roll call, please.
President Powell,
Aye.
Vice President Estrada,
Aye.
Director Aguilar,
Aye.
Director Bianco.
Aye.
And Director Nelson.
Aye.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
5-0.
That's passed 5-0. Then on to item C. Thanks, Elmer. This is the defined benefit compensation plan. Jay, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, directors. The item before you is seeking authorization for the general manager, excuse me, to enter into a defined benefit and compensation plan. Excuse me. The defined benefit and compensation plan would set forth the compensation and benefits for the district's confidential, at-will, and/or unrepresented employees. Presently, there is not a single document that sets forth the details of those benefits. Instead, those benefits are set forth in excuse me, a variety of employment agreements that refer to the collective bargaining agreements of the represented employees. This proposed plan would set up the compensation and benefits for 2 years for those particular employees and would be updated annually. Excuse me. Thank you very much. Now, the benefit of this plan would be to eliminate the ambiguity of the compensation and benefits for those employees, both internally and externally, if there was ever an external audit by CalPERS as to the compensation of those employees. And so the defined benefit and comp plan sets forth a variety of compensation and benefit details, including cost of living adjustments, vehicle allowance, opt-out for medical benefits, education reimbursement, merit pay, pay per performance, vacation cash out. And so basically the intent of this document is to create in essence, a one-stop shop that details the benefits and compensation for these employees without having to go to a variety of resources, which is at this point a bit confusing. So looking to basically streamline the process and have a single document as a point of reference. Are there any questions related to the proposed plan that I can answer?
So under this proposed plan, there's some instances where some employees are going to get a slight improvement in their package. Is that
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
then
That's
there's no instances where somebody's going to get reduced.
That's correct.
That's correct.
All right. Just to harmonize the groups,
Precisely.
right?
Yeah, and I guess the precipitating event here is the fact that we have presently 3 bargaining units, one representing management team, one representing supervisors, and one representing the majority of the workforce. And this past year, we had 2 of the management folks retire, leaving only 2 left, and one of those intends to retire this year. So you can't really have a bargaining unit with just one person in it, and we would prefer to have the executive team and the rest of these select employees to be confidential and unrepresented. And therefore, when we set that up as a group, it's not a bargaining unit, but as a group, we need a document, a single document that would define their benefits. While most of the executive team is already under employment agreements at will, their benefits rely on the MOU for the management team. And once that bargaining unit goes away, we'll need to now reference something else, which is why we're trying to put this defined benefit plan in place.
Do we have buy-in from the 25?
I haven't been directly involved in that. I think, honestly, the 2 folks that we have talked to are the 2 remaining management folks. I believe HR has talked to the other folks, but I believe we've also discussed it with the executive team members, and their employment agreements will undergo a minor change to incorporate by reference this plan. So as far as I know, at least our folks are in alignment, and I'm just waiting for you folks to get in alignment.
Right. Okay. I'm all right with it. I mean, it definitely tidies things up.
Yeah. I'll make a motion.
I'll second your motion to approve. Any other comments, Director Nelson?
No comments, I'm supportive.
Okay, thanks. Then let's do the roll call vote.
President Powell,
Aye.
Vice President Estrada,
Aye.
Director Bianco,
Aye.
Director Aguilar,
Aye.
and Director Nelson.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Great,
Jay.
thanks.
Great,
Jay.
thank you, directors.
Thanks, Chris.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
Good. Next is this swapping out this ordinance for a new ordinance. 1442.
Good morning, President
Chris,
Powell,
good
members of the board. Thank you for the time. We present for you, for your consideration, the repeal of Ordinance 1425.13, and instead the adoption of Ordinance 1442. While similar, what you will find, or I hope that what you have found, is that 1442 eliminates a lot of the redundancies that already exist in outside policy or MOU or somewhere else. And what Human Resources has found, unfortunately, is that when you have something like an ordinance that gets changed every year, you inherently build in potential conflicts with other policies that don't get updated yearly. So we've eliminated some of those. We presented a red line for you. I recognize that that was a lot of red, so we kind of highlighted some of the changes to classifications and compensation in the status report for you that's before you now. So that's just a brief
Right.
explanation on what we did. If you have any other questions, I'll be happy to try to answer those for you.
You saved a tree,
A few.
a few trees.
That's right.
That's good. All right. Any questions or comments on this?
I guess, just one question from me. We're going through a class and comp now. And would you anticipate that this may need to be changed again because of what happens in the class and comp?
I
So
do.
really what you're doing is kind of reestablishing a valid baseline with this?
I do. Well, anticipation is that it's going to be updated yearly regardless of the class and comp, but the interjection of the class and comp is certainly going to require a change when we get completed with that.
And it was better to do this now so that you could see the impact of the class and comp when that occurs. You didn't want to make too many changes all at once.
That's correct. I think that yourself
fair.
and the board recognize that there was substantial change already, just in the elimination of 100 pages of information, so yeah.
Okay. All right, is there a motion to approve 9A?
Approval.
Second.
Fair enough. Roll call vote, please.
President Powell,
Aye.
Vice President Estrada,
Aye.
Director Bianco,
Aye.
Director Aguilar,
Aye.
and Director Nelson.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's 5-0.
Thanks, Chris.
Chris. Let's see, we had some written communications. I see 2 here.
Yeah, the, what was posted online, we had some revisions, so we did distribute a revised log to the board, which includes what the first matter resolved, and then the second that we added, which is pending.
Right.
It's really an eye test is what it is.
Yeah.
I know, we're gonna work on making it a little larger. It's tiny.
Yeah, it's right at the limit of what I can tell. Thank you. And then we're on to board general comments. Director Nelson?
Thanks, John. Yeah, I don't have too many comments today. I think you all have seen the great snowpack and precipitation in Northern California for the State Water Project, and we're running about 130% of snowpack with a average, just about average forecasted runoff on the Colorado, so things are starting out well. State Water Project was intending to announce an updated allocation today, but it got moved to Friday so they could incorporate some of the latest weather and snowpack data. So that's good news. So we'll wait till Friday to get an updated State Water Project allocation. That's it.
Oh, there it is. Thank you. Director Aguilar?
No comments.
Thanks.
No comments.
I might save my comments after your comments.
You know what I'm going to say? So we have been, as a public agency, we've been asked, or we're in a position where we can nominate somebody to the LAFCO, and wasn't planning to make that an agenda item unless there's some interest in doing that among the board members. But Vice President Estrada has expressed interest in the seat that, I forget exactly what designated seat that is, but we have one. And is it water districts?
Special
Special
districts,
Eastern
yeah.
Riverside County.
Special districts. So I was planning on signing the nomination paper for that supports that nomination. Just so you know.
Have we had a seat on that before?
Russell Kitahara used to be on there for years.
I don't remember that since I've been on the board.
Yeah,
So-
probably not since you've been here.
Nancy Wright
Yeah,
was on the
Nancy
board,
was on.
and she did not get reelected at Mission Springs, so that her non-election creates the vacancy.
Oh, I see. So it's the whole valley.
There actually is a rep from Western Riverside County and Eastern Riverside County, and then there's an alternate.
And you also have, I mean, isn't Steve Sanchez on there?
Yeah, so cities have a rep on there, counties have a rep on there, special districts have a rep on there.
So I get it.
And so this would be the one for Eastern, the primary for Eastern Riverside County. And there's an election after the nominations are submitted. If there is only one nominee for the position, that person is then appointed and there's no election. But if there is more than one candidate for the position, there will be an election, and the actual election requires that 50% plus one of the special districts in the entire county participate. So even though the rep is from the eastern part of Riverside County, all of the special districts are allowed to vote. And so I think there's like 58 special districts and 29 plus one, so 30, or I guess it's 29 plus one, and 30 have to submit a ballot. And then I don't know how they then calculate, but at least there have to be ballots from more than 50% plus one.
So,
Go ahead.
yeah, I think since I've been here 8 years, Nancy Wright had been the representative on LAFCO, and we voted for her and supported her nomination whenever her seat came up. There's going to be what I think is significant change in LAFCO. There are 2 reps that represent special districts. Both of them were represented by water agencies. Mission Springs was one, and I forget the other one, somewhere like around Hemet. Not only is the seat from East Riverside County going to change, but there was an untimely death of the rep that was from the Western County. So those 2 seats are up. And then with the county supervisors race, there's going to be a new appointment from the supervisors representative. So I think there's going to be significant change. There's a lot happening with jurisdictions, I think, here locally. And so I just have a real interest in getting a better sense of, what LAFCO does, what it means for us. And I just feel like it's important for us to just kind of be part of it and be aware of what's going on. So that's the reason why I'd like to have a chance to be on that board. So I appreciate your support.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for wanting to do it. Honestly, it's good to be represented. Do we
And
have any-
those are all my comments.
Thank you. Do you have any board requests for future agenda items? I don't. That would have been it. We're not doing that. Okay. And then on to the meetings. See, Director Estrada, you've got the first several there, so why don't you just take them all?
Okay. December 14th. Okay, well, that has to do with CRUA. I was there. I'm sure the rest of the board members reported on that. I wasn't here for that meeting, for the last meeting, so that's why I wasn't able to report. But we were there, had a good time. A lot of, met with a lot of people, and, heard all about what's going on with the Colorado River. So that was from the 14th all the way to the 16th. We did have lunch with the Metropolitan Water District, and we met with some of their staff and some of their board members. So I think that was arranged by Robert. So thank you, Robert, for doing that. And then we were also there. Let's see, what is their partnership? Yes, we went to that partnership reception that Met seems to do every year. So we were there also. I believe the lunch with San Diego County Water Authority was canceled, so you can remove that. On December 22nd, we did have a prep call in preparation for a press conference with the congressman, and then that press conference happened last week. Let's see. So this on the 22nd, we actually had a prep call before we had the real call with the congressman. That happened on the same day, about 30 minutes before the actual call with the congressman, where he kind of gave us the news that the project, the Valley View project, was being submitted or was going to be funded by the omnibus bill. And so he just wanted us to give him a quick update on maybe where the project was at related to design, potential schedules for beginning of construction. He wanted to hear whether there was any concerns that we should make them aware of. We did bring up that, for example, the money that was appropriated from last year, they had just opened up the application process to draw down that money. So those were things that we needed to take into account when we try to give projections on when we would start projects or complete projects, because there seems to be a component that we don't have control. It's dependent on when they release money. We also brought up issues related to cost of materials and how that might increase project costs. And on the 3rd, we had a personnel committee meeting as part of the Salt and Sea Authority. There's, I think we plan to make some changes there. We also received some grant funding, I believe at least $500,000 for staffing the Salt and Sea Authority. We're going to get a communications person like a PIO that's going to help us put out some messaging and kind of be more in tune with the state. And so that's something that we're going to fly out soon. We're also discussing having a real process on how to do evaluations for our executive director. We don't seem to have a process to do that and provide feedback, so that those are things that we're going to try to do now. And I think that's it for now.
Thank you. Director Nelson, the golf, I can vouch that you were there. I think I already reported on that.
John, on January 5th, we met via Zoom with Robert, Mr. Craig Kessler, U.S. Golf, and in preparation for the meeting on January 11th, and Robert and I presented the PowerPoint at that point, and then we discussed about communication strategy. So we were just getting ready for the 11th there.
You're right. Yeah, that was on the 11th. Okay, good. And then let's see. On the 10th, Director Strada traveled to L.A. for the Adon's installation.
Yeah, that was a nice little trip. I was invited. I had been having conversations with the chairman, Ortega, that he was planning this installation. I think I had seen him sometime in November or September of last year, and he had asked me to make some remarks about our work that we've done over the last few years, and talk about our partnership between Metropolitan Water District and CVWD. So on the 10th, I drove out there to the Met Building in LA, in downtown. It was raining a lot. I think I left like at 7 a.m. and I got there, I don't know, close to like 10:30 or 11. But I was able to speak to the board. I spoke for about 10 minutes. I talked a little bit about just my personal experience with the chairman and how I met him and what we've done together in Sacramento as it relates to helping small water systems, the human right to water policy in California, our work when we were being supportive of SB 200, Senator Monning's bill. And then I just finished off with just some talking points that Robert provided and communications department that really kind of honed in on our relationship with Metropolitan Water District as it relates to Colorado River water, State Water Project water, some of the things that we continue to work on, and just kind of, being appreciative of that partnership. And so it was a very well-attended event. There was a lot of people there from across the state. San Diego was there. Folks from San Diego County Water Authority, their general manager was there, and some of their board members. There was folks from Sacramento. I saw Alf Brandt, who's special counsel for the speaker, Anthony Rendon, someone that I also have a good relationship with. There was just a lot of people there, past senators, past public officials, and it was a very, very nice event, very well attended. And I think we did a good job being there and kind of, kind of saying congratulations on behalf of the board.
Good.
So that's what I did that day.
Great. CRB on the 11th.
Yeah, the CRB, the Colorado River Board of California, we had our usual water updates, presentations, and then every 4 years now, which we instituted this about 3.5 years ago, we had an election of officers, and I think I've mentioned that I elected to not stand for another term. And so we had a kind of an unusual process to elect a new chairman and vice chair. So we had a couple rounds of voting that did not receive sufficient votes to pass it for the chair. So we elected a vice chairman, and then we went back and elected J.B. Hamby from the Imperial Irrigation District as the new chairman of the Colorado River Board of California, and Jim Medaffer as the vice chair. So that turned out well, and they've been getting involved with their activities since. So that was pretty much the crux of the meeting.
Great. And then you hurried back for your, on the same day.
Oh yeah, hurried back the same day. Thanks, John. Then got back to Coachella, and Robert Chang and I tag teamed with a presentation to the Coachella Valley Golf and Water Summit. There were about 160 interested individuals from the golf industry that were hearing about. It was a summit for them, and so Robert and I were discussing about future water supplies and what was happening on the Colorado River as an imported supply and the State Water Project. We presented a fairly dire outlook on future water supplies, and that encouraged them that the things that they could do in the golf industry to reduce water consumption would be very helpful for image, but also for continued sustainability of the industry. And I thought it went over pretty well. Had a lot of people appreciate the message.
Yeah, thanks. And I was in the audience. I think one of the takeaways was that there may be some funds available in the Inflation Reduction Act for projects. Maybe turf removal is the most likely recipient of those funds, but also possibly irrigation system modifications and that sort of thing. So the industry is standing by waiting to hear from us, and we're waiting to hear from the feds on what those programs might be, what the application process is.
Those programs will fall under the Category 2 of the Inflation Reduction Act that the Bureau has announced that they want to provide funds to provide durable and long-term water savings for the system. So this appears, we're waiting to hear from the commissioner and Assistant Commissioner Palumbo to know what those programs are so that we can roll those out. And Robert's been working pretty hard on that. And so, kudos to him. He's following up that. And just as soon as we hear from the Bureau, we can get started on trying to create these programs for the industry.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, thanks. And I think the golf courses are very receptive to this, so they're going to be eager to. They want it yesterday, obviously. That's what makes it so hard with these federal dollars. Is you have to wait. January 12th, CVCC, Director Bianco.
So we had a modified meeting, which took place at the city of La Quinta. We had a short meeting, and it was modified because we were going on a field trip. We were going to look at the fence that's built around Lake Cahuilla, and then on to Thermal to look at some tamarisk tree removal. For the last 6 years that I've been on that CC board, we've been working on the fence around Lake Cahuilla and connecting that fence with CBWD's fence that's around Silver Rock in that area. And so we went up to look at the fence. It's a beautiful fence. It's not quite finished, but they've done a good job on it. I think they've got the roughest part to go, which goes up and over the mountain. I did remind everybody, before we went on that field trip, that why Lake Cahuilla was there, and that as beautiful as it is, that it was built for CBWD and the All-American Canal. And so I think there was a little bit of surprised faces when I let them know, and some of the challenges that come with that. So I think most people don't realize that. So it was a good field trip in all.
Good. Yeah, kind of, you just reminded me. So the next, also that on the 12th, we had the Desert Valleys Builders Association board installation dinner. I was there. I'm on that board. And it was mainly an appreciation and networking evening. But there was somebody, and I don't remember his name. If you showed me a picture, I'd be able to point him out of a lineup. But from the county, who's like, we need to get together and talk about Lake Cahuilla.
Look at that thing.
I don't remember his name. Sorry. But maybe he's going to follow up with a phone call. Who knows? But I tried to remind him that there's an issue of liability that, that's creating the problem of making this easy. It's not easy because if somebody introduces quagga to that body of water, we potentially have $100 million+ problem that nobody wants to own. Anyways, it was a nice evening. January 18th, conference call, Director Estrada and Cyrus Devers.
Yeah, I had asked staff to help me schedule a meeting with Cyrus, who's our new lobbyist in Sacramento.
This guy?
No,
And
younger.
I just wanted to chat with him because had heard from the assembly member's office that they were making somewhat of a call for bills. If there was anything in particular that we had an interest in as a water agency, now was the time to approach the office and make those proposals for potential bills to be carried. I didn't really have a sense if there was anything too urgent that we would want to approach the assembly member to potentially sponsor a bill on our behalf. And so we had that call to discuss ideas. For me, the only thing that came up was maybe the Chromium-6, whether we need to pursue something there. I know we had been doing that last year, 2 years ago with the compliance periods, but that got resolved. So there was no need for a bill for that. But I was just asking the question. I think nothing really came out of it as something that was too urgent. But staff was going to check with perhaps Steve Bigley to get his take on whether there was anything that we needed to flag. And so, not sure if you've had that conversation, Steve. I'm sure you have. But I'm just putting it out there for anything, right, related to any department. Maybe we're in a good position. Maybe we don't need to sponsor any bill. But anyways, the call was made for that, and so that was the conversation.
Great. We had the Disadvantaged Communities Infrastructure Task Force. I was there, Director Estrada was there remotely. Huh?
Remotely.
And Carrie ran the meeting, kind of went through all the projects again. Still pretty well attended. I mean, and we're starting to get some things built. Is anything actually getting built? It is, huh? I mean, this, yeah, the one for Sergio's project.
Yeah. Avenue 66 is going to be nice. That's going to be a big one. So, really looking forward to that.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. January 19th press conference with Congressman Reese.
I was not able to attend that, but I do know that Scott and Director of Communications and other staff were there representing the district. I did see the video. I thought it was well done. So thank you for taking care of that.
Too many people. Okay. Other meetings. I know I had Director Nelson was there remotely. we had the Coachella Valley Irrigated Lands Coalition board meeting. There was actually a workshop earlier that day that I heard was pretty well attended at the Coachella corporate yard to go over the nitrogen reporting and the farm plan that's going to be required for agricultural operators by February 1st. So it's coming up. So people are putting those together. And but then we had our board meeting just following that at a different location and went over some things. We're still trying to get our permit from Fish and Wildlife so that we can do the fish tissue sampling. They ask questions like, what is your proposed method of euthanization for the fish? Oh my gosh. Anyways. What a world we live in. Anyways, we're working through those kind of things. We really have some pretty knowledgeable consultants that are doing some of that work. Any other meetings that need to be reported on?
Yes, Mr. President, I had a few meetings this weekend. We were visited by a group that call themselves WELL, Water Education for Latino Leaders. They've been doing what they call a cohort of individuals that they put together every year. It's elected officials from up and down the state. They are council members, county supervisors, school board members, water district directors, and they put them through this kind of journey, 6-month journey, where they go up and down the state about once a month, different regions, to learn about water issues and water policy. And so they kind of kick off that program with visiting the Coachella Valley as kind of their first stop. And they've done that for about 4 years now, and we've always kind of tried to accommodate their visit by lining up a number of speakers who can educate them on our issues here in the region, what we're doing, what our plans are, what perhaps some of the obstacles are that we need to work through. And so they were here Friday. They got here Friday. They spoke to me on Friday about our work as it relates to the human right to water, our water supply plan in the Eastern Coachella Valley, and just get a sense of how that came about and where we're at now, what we're doing about it, things like that. And then the second day so I was with them on Friday. I was with them all day on Saturday. And on Saturday, they started off the morning with a tour of the Salton Sea. They were taken to the state park. They sat down, interviewed Patrick O'Dowd, who's the executive director of the Salton Sea Authority. There was some press there to cover that. And then from there, I kind of took them to at the end of Fox Canyon so they could see the canal, and I think you get a pretty good view of the valley floor from at the end of Fox Canyon there. Because right after that, they were going to go to one of the Polanco parks on Avenue 70, where we were able to work with the Catholic Church has a mission, kind of a little mission center there where they have a community center. So that was, we worked something out so that they can have a space there to do the interview. They were able to walk 2 of the Polanco parks that are there and go into some of the units and talk to the families so they could see the under the sink filter that are being installed to remove the arsenic. And then after that, they went to the kind of the space that they have there to interview Luis Andrade, who's with USDA, Monica Telles, who's also now with USDA, and Elizabeth Marquez, who's the regional manager here for TLMA for Riverside County. So that was a pretty good interview for them. And then the next day after that, they were able to interview Director Nelson, who I'm sure he's going to share about what he did. But that was their schedule. I'm very grateful for Director Nelson always being able to accommodate time from his schedule, especially on a weekend, to be able to do this for these folks. He's done it as long as I've done it now too. So I hope he enjoys it. I certainly enjoy it. I think that it gives us a chance to let other folks know about our issues here in the valley. These are perhaps folks that are on their path to become the next assembly members, the next senators and county supervisors. And so I think the more that we can do to just kind of elevate our issues at statewide, I think it's a good thing for us. So I think there's some benefit in that. So that was what we did this weekend. These are folks, this every year it's a new group. This year was a fairly large group. I think there was 17, 19 individuals who made up the group. And City of Commerce, City of Rialto, Mayor of Pinole, Mayor of City of Soledad. I mean, just, you know, a lot of council members, Santa Ana, Bell, I mean, just all over the place. So a very, very good group. And I think it was well worth it. And that's what I did. And that's it for me.
Any others?
Yeah, I have a couple, Mr. President, appreciate it. As Costello mentioned, I did participate with the Well Group on Sunday, went in and had an interview. They're very well educated, read a lot of the prior information, and so it's not really a chance for, you know, the interviewees to, you know, give a speech or say anything. They're ready and prepared and have a lot of questions. And so it was a 45-minute interview that went very well. Spoke much about the Colorado River, as well as Coachella Valley Water Supplies and Organizations. So I really do appreciate the opportunity that, you know, Costello has kind of brought to the valley here. It's a great way to communicate not only the good things that are happening on the river, but the excellent things that are happening with the Coachella Valley Water District as well. So Costello, thank you very much for that. I do appreciate the opportunity, and I find it rather enjoyable to meet with them and see Paul and the other guys on an annual basis. So thank you.
Thank you,
And
Peter.
as John mentioned, on the 19th, I did attend the Coachella Valley Irrigated Lands Coalition with permit discussions for killing fish and strategizing on board directions as the regional board comes up with potentially future onerous types of regulations as well. And then on the 23rd, which was yesterday, I listened in on the California caucus for the modeling discussions that are happening in response to the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation's call for comments on the supplemental environmental impact study that they're doing as they've opened the 2007 ROD. So interesting discussions trying to identify reaches of the river that will be affected by potential curtailment of water use in the lower basin. So very good. That's all, Mr.
Thank you.
President.
Is there a motion to approve the meetings reported on for per diem?
I'll make a motion.
I'll move.
Second?
I'll second then.
Oh, which one is which?
We have two motions in 2 seconds.
Ah,
You got that? Roll call, please.
President Powell.
Aye.
Vice President Estrada.
Aye.
Director Bianco.
Aye.
Director Aguilar.
Aye.
And Director Nelson.
aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. General Manager report.
Yes, sir. Just COVID stuff this morning. I did hear on the radio coming in that over the last 3 days, there were 46 deaths and over 2,200 reported cases in the greater LA area. So considering the population base in the greater LA area, it's probably not significant, but it is a reminder that COVID is still out there. We have currently one qualifying case. We've got 414 recovered. We did have 2 mortalities, Chris Geiser and Nelson McCarthy. We have 0 direct contact situations right now, so we've only got 1 person off work due to COVID, and we've had 10 qualifying cases in the month of January so far. That's all I've got, sir.
Thank you. Council report.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Just wanted to mention a recent Public Records Act case. This is Freedom Foundation versus the State of California. And as we know, about a couple years ago, in a City of San Jose case, the issue was what records, public records, are under the control of a public agency that need to be disclosed. And the court in that case, the San Jose case, said it's not only the emails and text messages of employees and directors that are on the district email or email server, but it's other text messages or emails that are on a private device, but that they have some request or control over. So as a result, as you know, if somebody is conducting district business on a personal device and there's a Public Records Act request for that information, the individual is required to make that district information available. Not all of their records, not all of their emails, not all of their text messages. This particular case dealt with what is the obligation of a public agency to compile and get records from other sources. So oftentimes we'll get a Public Records Act request to compile information or to create a document. And of course, the agency, no agency is required to create a public record, but there is some obligation to get records from other departments within the water district, for example, or to get that information from other sources. In this particular case, it dealt with the state of California and a request to the Department of Human Resources. And the request was for this department to then go to the state controller to get information from them. And the court in that case said, yes, those are two different departments, but it's the entire state of California. And the Department of Human Resources has to go make a request, not all the time that they do this, to get records from the actual state controller. So it's not as if they're in the same department or the same office or anything of that nature. And the Department of Human Resources told this requester, well, please make that request to the state controller. And the requester said, no, we want to just do it through you. The court said, the public records are ones that are in the actual possession of the public agency or for which you have an actual constructive control over. In this case, they said this other department, there's no constant interaction, there's no exchange of information on a regular basis, so therefore they don't control records of the state controller, and so the request should have gone there. So the reason that I mentioned that case is public records over the years have been, well, what is in our actual control here, but it's been extended to things that you have constructive control over. But it's not to the point of having to get records from other entities where you be, in essence, making your own public records request to get those records. So we have here at the district a fully compliant Public Records Act process, policy. We do this on a regular basis, but I just wanted to make you aware that the Public Records Act obligations are expanding over time. That's all I have, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any department reports?
No, sir, not at this time.
Good. So at this time, the board will recess into closed session to consider the items listed on the agenda, which are a lot of them through N, A through N, and then we will reconvene here to report out. New Zealand has a bunch of stars.
States, U.S. states. China's got a star, Russia got a star, Soviet Union had a star.
A crescent moon. All right, so are we on? Regular meeting is here by, or open session is hereby reconvened, and we do not have any reportable action from closed session, and with no further business and hearing no objection, we are adjourned.
Thank you, gentlemen.